Chapter 10. Instead of going home after dropping Hollyn off at her apartment, I go to a pub in town. I order a beer, trying to figure out the feelings I'm having after being with her. I haven't known her long, but she makes me feel crazy wanting to protect her. It also makes me want her when usually it is the woman wanting me. I lost control, giving into my dick tonight with her, and I feel so fucking stupid. When I saw her with Tyler at the casino, I about lost it, and I'm not the jealous type. I don't know what got into me. I could have knocked that fucking smile off of his face. I've never felt anger like that before, and it scares the hell out of me. Then she walked over to him, pulling him close to her with her perfect perky tits, touching his chest. Not to mention that little rich prick Wayne tried to take advantage of her innocence. He had better not let me catch him alone after what he did to Hollyn. Thank God her brother's friend was there for her, because if he had did anything to hurt her, I figure I would be needing a lawyer for myself. I'm getting angry just thinking about it, so I order another beer. I stare at the beer because I have always limited myself to one. I don't like how too much alcohol affects people, and I never want to find out how it affects me, but I really need to numb the look on her face after I fucked her. I could tell she was confused and hurt. I could see the tears in her eyes that she was trying to hold back, and it shreds my fucking heart. I felt my heart opening up, and that anchor I buried with my demon slowly lifting, but I can't take the chance on making myself vulnerable just to watch her walk away. What is wrong with me? I'm acting like a fucking woman now, I think to myself. I'm trying to process all of this shit, which is not like me at all, when Jay sits beside me at the bar. Hey man, you look like hell. Yeah, well, I feel like shit, I say, pushing the beer away. Want to talk about it? Jay asks, taking a sip of his beer. I've just got a lot going on in my head, I say. Don't we all, man? He says after he swallows his drink. You have a good night. I'm going home, I say, throwing a 10 on the bar beside of my untouched beer. I turn to leave when Bess bounces up to me. Have a drink with me, she says, rubbing her hand down my arm, and I look over at Jay, who is smiling at me, holding his cock in his hands. I am tired and on my way home, I say, trying to walk around her, when she grabs my arm. Please, Ian. I don't have anybody else, she says with a frown. Bess, I am exhausted. I will see you later, I say, walking away. Ian, I have already had too much to drink, and I don't think I can drive myself home, Bess yells. She has to ignore me tonight of all nights. I take a deep breath, then let it out. I can drop you off on my way home, I say, because as much as she annoys me, I couldn't live with myself if anything happened to her. Bess gets on my bike and wraps her arms around me a little too tight, but I just drive as fast as I can to get her home so I can get her hands off of me. Before I didn't mind a woman's hands all over me, but right now, all I want are Hollyn's arms wrapped around me. When I pull up to Bess's house, I help her off my bike, and she looks up at me. Ian, please stay. I don't want to be alone tonight. I feel bad for her, but I know what she is trying to do. Bess, you will be fine. You just need to go to bed and sleep off the alcohol, I say. I take her into her room and put her in her bed. As soon as she lays her head on the pillow, she falls asleep. I look down at her and think how pathetic she is, but I am all she has. When I get home, I walk into the bedroom to take a shower. I am unbuttoning my shirt, and I can still smell Hollyn's scent on my clothes and body. I pick up my phone from the countertop of the sink to text her, but I stop myself. I wanted to bring her home with me and wake up next to her, but I know the questions would start. I walk into the shower, and when I close my eyes, I see those big gray eyes of hers, but this time, they are sad, and it fucking breaks my heart. I did that. I made that happen. Fucking hell, I yell. I get out of the shower and lay in the bed afraid to fall asleep. I have been having nightmares every night, and I don't have the energy to face what haunts me, but eventually I fall asleep. Get off of me, I hear Hollyn yelling, but I can't find her. I'm searching frantically all over the yacht. I stop and look around. How in the hell did I get on Wayne's yacht, I think to myself. Then I hear her scream, and I run towards the front of the boat. She screams again. Hollyn, I'm coming. Tell me where you are, I scream back to her. I open every door I come to, and when I open the last door, she's laying on a bed. Her dress is ripped. She has bruises on her arms and blood is running down out of her mouth. "Hollyn, baby, it's me, Ian." She looks over at me and screams, "Please don't. I am sorry. Don't hit me again." I wake up in a pool of sweat. My heart is racing and I feel tears running down my face. "Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!" I scream, wiping the tears off my face and pulling at my hair. This woman has messed my head all up, causing one of the worst nightmares I've ever had. I get up and walk to the kitchen to grab a bottle of water out of the fridge, and I can still feel the sweat running down my back. Instead of going back to sleep, I decide to work out. I walk into the room where all of my workout equipment is, and I first start running on the treadmill. I turn on my iPod and turn the treadmill on the highest speed. After running for 20 minutes, I walk over to my punching bag I have hanging from the ceiling and put on my gloves. I do 10 repetitions with each hand, and then an image of Tyler having his hands on Hollyn pops in my head. I punch the bag harder, then the image of Wayne having his hands on her. I punch the bag faster and harder, then my dream comes back to me with Hollyn laying there shaking and bloody saying I hit her. Suddenly I'm against the wall sliding to the floor. I'm trying to control my breathing with my head in my hands. This is why I never have gotten close to a woman before. I would never let them pass the wall I have built, but somehow Hollyn is slowly chipping away at it. It is then I decide that I need to stay away from her so she doesn't get hurt. I can feel my heart breaking, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to let her go. Chapter 11. I walk into the apartment expecting to answer a slew of questions from Abby, but it is quiet. I see a bottle of open wine on the kitchen counter, so I figure she must have passed out in her bed. I walk on my toes, trying not to make any noise to avoid her if she is still awake, when all of a sudden, I hear a loud thump. I quickly walk to her bedroom door, then I hear a laugh. "Oh, Austin," I hear Abby say. I quickly pull my hand away from the doorknob and walk back to my room mumbling, if she's going to ask me questions, then she has some to answer herself. I go directly to the bathroom and run the bath, pouring honey oil in the water, and the scent immediately fills the room. I undress and look at myself in the mirror. I look thoroughly fucked with my eyeliner smudged and rosy cheeks, thinking how stupid I was to let my guard down once in my life, and he turns out to be a jackass. I rub my fingers across my lips, remembering how his kiss felt, and my stomach ties into knots when I start thinking I will never feel his lips on mine again. I grab my hair tie, wrapping my hair to form a bun, then step into the tub. As I am sliding down into the warm water, the insides of my thighs sting from where I straddled the motorcycle, but it soothes between my legs from where I had the fullness of Ian inside of me. After my bath, I hear a text come through on my phone, and I run to it, hoping it is Ian. It's from Tyler. It says, "It was great seeing you at the casino." I can't deal with him right now after the night I have had, and when I don't respond, my phone chimes again. It's Tyler again. He says, "Hope we can get together soon to catch up." I crawl back into bed, turning off the lamp thinking about Ian's mixed signals and how he has messed with my head, when I hear Abby's door open. "Shh," I hear Abby say. "She might not even be home yet," Austin says. "Well, if she is, I don't want her to hear you leaving," she says, and then I hear her giggle. "She's going to find out sooner or later. Why not now?" Austin says, to her raising his voice a little. "Damn it, Austin. I am tired and I don't want to deal with her right now," Abby says, agitated. I hear the front door open and close. I roll over in the bed, annoyed. I must have fallen asleep because when I open my eyes, sunlight is shining through the window into my face. I look over at the clock and let out a long breath. I throw my pillow over my face, then I hear a knock at my door. "Come in," I yell. "Hey, were you awake?" Abby asks, coming in with a tray of pancakes and a glass of orange juice. "Thanks," I say, and take the tray. We sit there for a few minutes, waiting for the other to ask the first question. I cut into my pancakes and stab it with a fork. "Look, Abby, I heard Austin when I came home. I don't care if you are into him, but don't hurt him," He is my brother, I say. I told you, Hollyn, we are just having fun, she says, turning the question on me. So you were with Ian? I look at her after taking a drink of orange juice and roll my eyes. What happened? I explained to her about that night and Ian's mood swing afterward. I'm sorry, Hollyn. He seemed to want more than sex from you, and I'm usually good at reading people, she says. The bad thing is, I think I have fallen for him, I confess to her. Don't call him, let him call you. He will call you, Hollyn, once he realizes he's fucked up. Trust me, she says with a grin. I went to school for 7 years wanting to start my career and become a great lawyer. I never thought I would come home and find someone who makes my heart stop and start all at the same time, and I was stupid enough to let him use me, I say, getting out of bed. Sometimes the things that come unexpected are the greatest things that happen in our life. Just give him time. He may come around, but if he doesn't, then hell with him, she says, walking out of my room. After she leaves, I think about what she said, and I decide not to let him get to me. I put on my gym clothes, grab my bag, and head to the gym to clear my head. I'm still a little sore between my thighs from the motorcycle, which only makes me run on the treadmill faster to numb the pain. I am listening to my iPod when suddenly my view is blocked. Tyler is standing in front of me in his running shorts and tank top that shows off his biceps. I slow the treadmill, pulling the earbuds out of my ears. Did you get my text? Tyler asked, handing me my towel. Yes, sorry I didn't reply. I was busy, I say, dabbing the sweat off my forehead. Have dinner with me so we can catch up, he says as a demand instead of a question. Sounds great, I say, thinking of Ian and how he used me. I decide I'm not going to just sit around and wait on him. I will pick you up in 2 hours at your apartment, he says with a grin. After working out for another 30 minutes, I drive back to the apartment and soak in a hot bath. I put on a black peplum tank top and a pair of white skinny jeans. I walk over to my shoe rack and grab a pair of my black pumps. I go to the kitchen and pour a glass of wine. After a few sips, I hear a knock. I walk over to the door to open it. Tyler is wearing a pair of jeans and a white t-shirt with a button-down flannel shirt that he has left unbuttoned. He is handsome in his own way, but he isn't as handsome as Ian. You look great, he says, placing a quick kiss on my cheek. Thanks, you don't look so bad yourself, I say to him as I grab my purse. I walk out with him to his car and he opens the door for me. There is awkward silence as we drive up to George's of Galilee. He walks over and opens my door. You really look good, Hollyn. Thanks, I say with a smile. We walk into the restaurant and we are seated. The waiter comes over and we order. He pours us a glass of wine. Tyler leans into the table to take my hand. I quickly grab my napkin, placing it on my lap so my hand is out of his reach. Looking back up at him, I ask, what have you been doing since graduation? I went to college and now I'm a local real estate agent, he says, sitting back in his chair. Oh, that sounds interesting, I say with a smile, taking a sip of my wine. What is going on with you and Ian? Tyler asks. I take a deep breath, feeling the pain returning in my chest. Nothing, I manage to say through a cracked voice. Well, it didn't seem like nothing at the casino, he says. I think of how Ian reacted when I was talking to Tyler. He was acting like he owned you, he says. Nobody owns me. I'm my own person, I say, a little too defensive. I am relieved when the waiter comes over and gives us our food, but all of a sudden, I don't feel that hungry. Then I see Bess walking up to our table. Tyler, how are you? Bess asks. She looks over at me. Hollyn, I am surprised to see you here, she says with a grin. And why is that, Bess? I ask, looking at her through the slits in my eyes. Have you seen Ian lately? I haven't seen him since he gave me a ride home from the pub last night, she says with a smirk. I feel my blood start to boil thinking of Ian with her after he was with me, and all I want to do is smack that smug smile off of her face. Call me later, she says, turning her attention to Tyler, then she walks away. We finish our dinner, and Tyler drives me back up to my apartment. He comes over and opens the car door, letting me out. I had a nice time, I say, getting out of the car. Hollyn, I never got over us breaking up before you went to college, and since you're back home, I would like to try us again, he says, turning towards me, looking in my eyes. He looks sincere and leans in to kiss me. I put my hands on his chest and push him back. Tyler, you are a very nice guy, and I hope I didn't give you the wrong idea, but I am not looking for a relationship right now, I say. He looks hurt with rejection and walks over to his car, opening the door to get in, but before he does, he stops and looks at me. Hollyn, when you are ready for a serious relationship, you know where I will be. After he drives off, I walk into the apartment feeling bad because right now I feel hypocritical, using Tyler to take my mind off of Ian and hurting him in the process, like Ian has hurt me. Chapter 12. I'm sitting at my desk in my room, looking over Mrs. Duval's files, getting ready for court this week. I look at the clock, and it's 11 p.m., so I decide to get ready for bed. I brush my teeth and throw on my pajama shorts with a matching tank top when I hear a knock at the door. As I'm walking to the front door, the knock becomes more persistent and harder. I am coming, I yell, agitated. When I open the door, standing in front of me is Ian, and he looks disheveled. Hollyn, what in the hell were you doing with Tyler last night? He asked in a loud, distressing voice. How is that any of your business, considering I haven't heard from you since you fucked me? I say, and I can see the pain hiding behind the anger in his eyes. Wait, how did you know I was out with Tyler? I ask. Bess came to the dock. She said she's seen you and Tyler having dinner. She said you looked quite cozy, he says with anger in his voice. That bitch, I say, walking into the living room as Ian follows me. I turn towards him. What gives you the right to ask about Tyler when you was with Bess after you dropped me off last night? I ask. Hollyn, I just gave her a ride home because she had too much to drink. I dropped her off, and then I went home, he says. I think of Bess's dainty arms wrapped around Ian's body, and I shake my head. It doesn't matter what you did or didn't do with her. I haven't talked to you since last night, and after the way you treated me, I figure you got what you wanted, I say. He walks over to me and places his hand on my arm, looking down at me, causing me to jerk away. Ian, I am not going to be the booty call for whenever it pleases you. I told you, I am not that kind of woman, I say, crossing my arms. And I told you, I'm glad you aren't that kind of woman, Ian says. I watch him take his bottom lip between his teeth. I was trying to sort some things out, and I'm sorry I didn't call you. Hollyn, Tyler is not the right man for you, he says, looking me in my eyes. I don't want Tyler. I just went out with him as a friend, I say. I can see relief flood through his body, and he begins to relax. The yellow rings around his pupils have gotten brighter. He walks closer to me so that I can feel his breath and inhale his scent. I feel my body start to react, craving him to touch me. I'm staring at his chest because I know if I look up, I will surrender to him. What makes you think you can choose who is right for me and who isn't? I ask in a low voice, feeling myself under his spell. I can feel him looking down at me. Because I am the right man for you, Hollyn. Give me a chance to make this right, he says pleadingly. With those words, I stop fighting the urge to look up, and the next thing I know, my lips are on his. I slip my tongue into his mouth, thinking how soft his lips are. He pulls me closer into his body, placing a trail of kisses down my neck and back up. I grab his hair, feeling his erection that is being held down by his pants. I moan, thinking of how I want to spring it free and place it between my thighs, but this time, he is the one who pulls away. I'm going to do this right, he says. He gives me a quick peck on my lips, and I can tell that he wants me as bad as I want him. He opens the door and walks out. He leaves my heart racing and my body needing him. The next morning I wake up laying in my bed thinking about what Ian meant when he said he was going to do this right, and then I get a text. I grab my phone off the night table by my bed and look at it. It's from Ian. It says, "Pick you up at 5 for dinner." I set my phone back down and get out of bed. I decide to do some work on my case to keep my mind off of getting to see Ian tonight. As 5 p.m. nears, I run to my closet and throw on a pair of jean capris and a white swing tank with white wedge sandals. I straighten my hair so it flows down my back, and it seems like it adds at least an inch to it. I hear the doorbell ring and Abby opens the door. "It's nice to see you again," I hear Abby say, and then I hear her voice lower. I walk out of my bedroom and I hear her talking to him in a threatening tone. "If you hurt her, I promise that you will regret it because I will make your life miserable," she says. I walk into the living room expecting to see the crease between Ian's eyes, but instead, He's looking at Abby with his heart-melting smile. He looks gorgeous, wearing a white button-down shirt and black trousers, standing in the living room. "Are you ready?" he asks, bending down to kiss me on my cheek, and I nod my head. He takes my hand into his. As we are walking out, Abby laughs, and I hear her yell down the hall, "Have fun. I won't wait up." When we get outside, I immediately spot his motorcycle. "We can take my car," I say, not wanting to repeat my humiliation. He half smiles. "I figured you'd enjoyed it so much last time that you'd want to take my motorcycle." I blush and put on the helmet to cover my face. "Where are we going?" I ask through the helmet. "It's a surprise," he says, getting on the motorcycle. When Ian takes off, the vibration of the bike goes straight to my thighs, but with my pants on, it's not as intense. I find myself wrapping my arms tighter around him, feeling the hardness of his body. About 20 minutes later, I hear the sound of the ocean and see the waves crashing on the beach. After placing the helmets on the motorcycle, Ian takes my hand. We walk to the sand, and he bends down, taking my shoes off. He takes his shoes off and rolls up the bottom of his pants. He places our shoes under his left arm, and he holds my hand with his right hand. We walk onto the beach, which seems to be deserted other than a few couples walking along the shoreline. The sand is soft in between my toes, and it's still warm from the heat of the sun. When we get to the shoreline, the waves start to flow over our feet. I look out and see a beautiful sight. The sun is starting to set, turning the clouds pink, and Ian has his fingers entwined into mine, and he looks happy, making me feel like everything is perfect at this moment. We walk towards a large rock on the beach, and I notice a blanket laid on the sand with a basket, a plate of cheese, and fruit with a bottle of wine. There are 4 unlit white candles sitting in the sand at each corner of the blanket. "I told you I wanted to make this right, so I wanted to take you out on an actual date," he says, turning towards me. I know I must be dreaming to be standing in front of a handsome man who has a planned romantic date. I throw my arms around him to make sure he is real. My heart swells, thinking he did this all for me, and I feel myself fall a little deeper for him. I'm still scared and worried that I'm going to get hurt, but I decide to take that chance of getting hurt. Is it less of a risk than never trying and not knowing what could have been? I give him a kiss, and I see the joy in his eyes. We walk over to the blanket and sit down. Ian pours up some wine, filling my glass up more than his. He places a strawberry to my lips, and I take a bite. "It is such a beautiful evening. Thank you for this," I say, placing my hand on his. "Yes, this sight is breathtaking," he says, looking at me with glowing eyes like he wants to devour me. He leans in closer to me and places his lips on mine. "Hollyn, your lips are intoxicating," he says. He places his tongue into my mouth, and I place my tongue into his. You taste like strawberries," he says with a grin. I sit back and build up the nerve to ask him something that has been weighing on my mind. "Ian, why me?" "What do you mean, why you?" he asks. "Why do you want me? I mean, all of this," I ask. He looks at me, bending his knee up, propping his elbows on them, and inhales a deep breath, then lets it out. "All I know is I can't stop thinking about you, and when I'm not with you, it kills me," he says. "I know the feeling," I whisper, taking another bite of the strawberry. Ian grabs the blanket and pulls out 2 sandwiches. We sit and eat, taking in the view, stealing occasional glances at each other. When it starts to get dark, he grabs a lighter and lights the 4 candles. He pulls out his iPod, and Rihanna's Stay starts to play. He walks over to where he is standing in front of me, and he holds out his hand. "Dance with me," he says. He pulls me up, and I put my arm around his neck. He places his arms around my waist. We stare into each other's eyes, then he breaks our silence. "You are my angel that has come into my life when I needed you the most," he whispers in my ear. I kiss him and place my head on his shoulder, inhaling that scent of his that I love. Our bodies repeat each other's movement with the same rhythm, like they are becoming one. When the song ends, we sit back down and hold each other. I am wanting him to take me right here on the beach, and I can tell he wants me too, but he's trying so hard to be a gentleman. With the sound of the ocean, the breeze in the air, and the warmth of Ian's body, I must have fallen asleep. Then I wake up. I notice it is getting light outside, and I'm still wrapped in Ian's arms. I look up, and he is asleep, so I wrap my arms a little tighter around him, and he opens his eyes. We lay there, lost in each other's gaze, and then he looks at his watch. "Good morning, Angel," he says with a grin. "Good morning," I say back to him. "Looks like we spent our first night together." He leans over, placing a soft kiss on my forehead. I feel a drop of rain on my cheek and then my head. I jump up, letting out a squeal as the rain falls harder. Ian grabs our shoes and we start running to the motorcycle. He grabs the helmets, placing mine on my head, shielding me from the rain. After Ian gets on the motorcycle, I slide in behind him, snuggling up against his warm body. When we get back to my apartment, Ian walks me to the door. "Do you want to come in?" I ask, standing in a small puddle for my rain-soaked clothes. As much as I would love to, I have to go home and get ready for work. He looks down at my boobs with a smile. "You need to dry off and change." I start to worry about what I must look like. I have wet hair that is clinging to my face. I look down and notice that my white top is clinging to my skin and has turned see-through. I have a strapless bra on, but my nipples have peeked from the chill of the rain showing through my top. Even though Ian has seen me naked, I start to feel embarrassed, so I cross my arms around my breast. "I will call you later," he says, giving me a kiss on my cheek before he leaves. I walk into the apartment, hurrying to my room to take a hot shower. After getting warm and getting the sand off my skin, I get out of the shower, and I notice I have a text. It's from Ian. "Already missing you," he says. I smile and reply, "Me too, looking for someone to cuddle with." I lay on my bed waiting for his reply. After a few seconds, my phone chimes. It's from Ian again. "I better be the one you were looking for then," he says. I smile, feeling mischievous, so I reply, "You are unavailable, so I settled for the hot neighbor who was knocking at my door." I lay back on my pillow with a huge grin, waiting for his reply. After a few minutes, I pick up my phone, checking to see if I missed Ian's reply. When I see there is no reply, I figure he got busy at work. My grin fades, so I decide to do some work. I grab my laptop and I start looking over files. After a few minutes, I hear the front door slam, making me jump. When I stand up, my bedroom door flies open, and Ian is standing in the doorway, and he doesn't look happy. I watch his eyes scan my room, and then he becomes relaxed. "Ian, what are you doing here?" "Coming to kick the fucker's ass you said you were cuddling with," he says. "Oh, come on, Ian, nobody is here," I say, looking around the room. "I was joking," I say, starting to regret my decision from seeing the pained look on Ian's face when he entered the room. "Hollyn, your joke made me raging mad," he says. "Sorry," I say, looking down. Ian walks over to me, placing a finger under my chin, lifting my head so now instead of looking down, I'm looking into his gorgeous eyes. "Now that I'm here, I want to lay on your bed and wrap my arms around you, feeling your body against mine," he says, nodding in the direction of the bed. I look at him, taking all of him in when he moves closer to my face. "Hollyn, I'm going to slide my cock into you, making you scream my name, and then I'm going to have you until you are sore," he says. I clench my thighs together, and at this moment, I know he owns me, my heart, my desire, and my body.